What's up, guys? How's everybody doing tonight? FOMO Trader here. Going to be going over some trade ideas for March 31st, 2022. And I would also like to go over how I build my watch list for the next day, which criteria I look at, how I set up my price targets, and my stop losses. So give me just 1 second. And let me get signed in here. So now that I'm signed in, I would want to go over how I build my watch list. So some of the things that I look for is I'm going to look for on the charts once the daily candle has closed. One of the big things I like to look for is, did we form an inside bar? So I go through my watch list. I trade the same set of tickers almost every day. I have this big list compiled here of stuff I like to trade that has pretty good liquidity on it. So I'd like to look for inside bar. So I've set up a custom indicator on my trading view charts. And this yellow bar is an inside bar here. So it is inside of the previous day's highs and lows. So that is one thing I normally like to play when setting up a watch list. And by going off of that, I have compiled a list tonight of Airbnb, ARK, which is Kathy Wood's ETF, Coin, GameStop, RIOT, and Tesla. So, going to go over here. First, we're going to go over Airbnb and see how it goes and what type of risk to reward we can get out of this trade. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to take my horizontal ray and I want to mark the high of the previous day, and I also want to mark the low of the previous day. So that right there is the high and low, and if you look, this yellow candle is inside of this range, so it is inside the previous day's high and low. So now I'm going to take my Fibonacci and I'm going to draw it from the previous day's candle from the low to the high to get the bullish price targets. Then I'm going to switch to the 5-minute time frame. So for a upside play, we want to break above, we want to break out of the inside day candle, the inside bar. So we want to break out of that level. So we want to break above the previous day's resistance level, which comes out to 178.88, and the low is 179.81. So on Airbnb, if, let me get my broker opened up here. Just a second, guys. So looking at E-Trade here, so for Airbnb, if we break above 178.88, we're going to go ahead and set up an alert trigger here. So we're going to do Airbnb crossing over 178.88. So then I'm going to come down here in the message box and we're going to do Airbnb over 178.88. And then the way I like to pick my strike is I like to go 1 to 2 strikes out, or I'd like to pick about the third price target up. And as you can see, that's at the 38.2 extension on the Fibonacci here at 181.58. So the closest strike to that is we have 180 and 182.50. So I'm going to go with the 182.50 calls, expiration April 1st. My price targets I am going to get from the Fibonacci levels here. So the first one is going to be 179.59, which is the 10% fib. Our second one is going to be $180.80, which is your 27.2 fib level. Our third would be 181.58. Our fourth would be 182.42. And our fifth, our home run play at the 61.8 fib extension, would be 183.25. So that would be your home run. Now, stop loss. The way I like to set this normally is if we're looking to enter this trade on a break above 178.88, we would normally use the fib below it to set our stop for, but there's a lot there. We don't want to risk that much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and find our previous area of resistance, which is about the middle between the 0% and the 23.6 fib retracement level. And that is at 177.88. So we're going to use that as our stop loss. So this will be our stop loss, this dash line here. So we're going to come back to this alert, and we're going to set our stop loss for 177.88. Now our risk to reward on this trade. So if we enter at 178.88 and we hit our final price target at 183.25 and our stop is at 177.88, our risk to reward on this trade is a 4.37. So 4.3 times your money. You're risking a little bit to make a lot. Anytime you can make 4 times your investment, almost 4.5 times, that is a good trade. So 4.37 if final price target is hit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this alert, and what's going to happen is the alert is set. So when the price breaks above 178.88, that alert is automatically going to pop up in my screen and tell me my trade plan. So now we're going to look at the downside here. So we're going to come back to the daily. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to plot our high. We're going to plot our low. Then we're going to take our fib, and for a downtrend, or to see the extension to the downside, we're going to draw it from the high to the low. Switch back to the 5-minute here. If the fib is drawn from the high of the previous day to the low. So now we're going to set up an alert here as well. So we're going to be looking for a break below the 0% level, which is 171.81, 171.81. So Airbnb under 171.81. And if we look at our third level down, it's 169.11, and then our fourth is 168.28. So I am going to pick the 170 puts. That's about $2 from our entry price. Expiration would be April 1st. So our price targets are just going to be our fib levels. So first price target would be 171.10, which would be the 10%. The second one would be 169.89. Your third would be 169.11. Your fourth at the 38.2 would be, or excuse me, your fourth would be 168.28. And your fifth and final price target, our home run level at the 61.8, which is very important, would be at about 167.50, we'll call it. Stop loss, we're going to do the same thing. So if we were to set our stop loss at the fib level before our entry price, we'd be risking way too much there. So what we're going to do is we'll set it about the halfway point. Stop loss would be 172.65. And our risk to reward on this trade, we go ahead and we plot this out. We do a downside short position. So we enter on a break of 171.81. Our final price target is 167.50. And our stop loss is 172.65. So that gives us a 5.13 risk to reward ratio, which is just phenomenal. Over 5 times your money. I mean, that's what you want, guys. So we're going to set that alert. So now we have both of our alerts set up, ready to go, and pretty much automated. When it breaks to the high or it breaks to the low over those certain levels, we'll get a pop-up alert and we will either enter the trade. But before we enter the trade, what I like to do is I like to look on the 3-minute or the 5-minute, and I want to wait for confirmation, because a lot of times when we break out of a inside bar, it'll break over it just briefly and then you'll have a rejection. So for confirmation, you can wait till the current candle closes and make sure the body of that candle is above or below the level that it set off your trigger. And if the body closes, that is a pretty good sign that you should see a continued trend in the direction you're going for. So if it is a wick, it's probably going to be a false breakout. So I'm going to send both of these to the chat. So there is the call side, and here is the put side. So next on our list, I want to look at Kathy Wood's baby, ARK Invest. So the reason I'm looking at ARK as well is if we flip over here to the daily again, we've also got an inside bar. So on the inside bar, the yellow bar is inside of the prior day's high and low. So the way we're going to look at this is we're going to plot the previous day's high, and then we're going to plot the previous day's low. Then I'm going to draw my Fibonacci to get the bullish extension levels from the low to the high. Then we're going to switch to the 5-minute here. So we're going to go ahead and set up our alert. Bring that over so you guys can see it a little better. So if we break above, right now our 0% is at 72.01. So we're just going to call this 72.05 to give it a little bit of breathing room. So ARK over 72.05. And let me bring up my options chain here. So ARK over 72.05, and if we go up and we look at the 1, 2, 3 extension, that's 73.56. So, and the closest thing to that is 73. So we'll go with the 73 calls, expiration April 1st, 22. Your price targets here, we're just going to use our fib levels. We're going to keep it simple. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So our first one here is that your 10% would be 72.41. Your second price target would be 73.11. Your third price target would be 73.56. Fourth would be 74.04. And your fifth home run price target would be 74.52. Stop loss. So on the stop loss here, once again, we're entering on a break above this level. So we want to break above 72.05. But if we use the previous Fibonacci line as our stop loss, we're risking quite a bit. We're risking almost $1 there. That is a little too much. So instead of risking $1, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and find a previous area of resistance. So this is about your halfway point. It's 71.54. So we're just going to call this 71.50 on the head. We're just going to pick a place in between these two fibs and use this as our stop loss zone. So we come back over here to our alert, and our stop loss is 71.50. Now if we calculate our risk to reward on this trade, and we look at our long, bring this over here, so we enter on, we're going to enter, our entry price is above 72.05. Our final price target that we've mapped out from our Fibonacci lines is 74.52, and our stop is 71.50. 4.49, guys. 4.49. 4.5 times your money on this trade. And it's an automated trade. So it's not automated to the sense it's going to do it automatically for you. But if we break these levels using this Fibonacci strategy, there is a high probability that we are going to hit these price targets. I'm only giving price targets to the 61.8 fib because that's normally when you see a reversal. So 61.8 has a high probability, but the highest probability is probably your 78.6 before you see a pullback. So we have a 4.49. But let me rephrase that. So you could see a pullback on any of these fib levels. But if you would systematically draw this out and look at the methodicalness of the algos buying and selling to each other, you will see that they trade these levels, that the price will spike, hit a fib level, and you'll see some selling. Then the price will come back down, hit a fib level below it, and then you'll see some buying. And it'll just work its way in between these fib levels. I mean, it's methodical how the computers do it, and unbelievable. And if we can't beat them, as somebody else I like to follow on YouTube, we need to join them and do what they are doing. So I'm going to take this play and I'm going to post it in the chat for you guys. So now we're going to look at the downside on ARK. We're going to start fresh. So I'm going to erase everything on the chart. We're going to come over here to the daily. We've got our inside bar. The yellow bar is inside the previous day's high and low. That's why it's yellow. We're going to plot the high of the prior bar, and we are going to plot the low. Whoops. So we're going to plot those two, and for a downside, we're going to draw our fib from the top to the bottom. So now we're going to come back over here to the 5-minute. And if you can see, we're actually plotted from the high here to the low. So that's how our fib is drawn. So you can actually extend this over so you can see it a little bit better. 67.94, 67.94, and 72.01. We'll get that exact from our high and low levels. So on this one, we are looking for a break below 67.94. So we'll just call it 67.90. So ARK under 67.90. And we're going to go down and we're going to look at our third level down. So we got 67.53, 66.83, and 66.35. So we'll come over here and I'll look at the options chain and we'll look at the puts. So 66.35, the closest thing to that I would say is the 66 puts. So we'll look at the 66 puts, expiration April 1st. Price targets, and we're just going to use our fib levels, guys. We're going to keep it simple. 67.53 is your 10%. 66.83 is your 27.2. 66.35 is your 38.2. Your 50 is 65.91. And then you've got 65.42 for your home run price target at the 61.8, 65.42. Our stop loss. So if we use, once again, if we use the fib above our entry trigger, that is going to be risking, our entry trigger was below 67.94, and if we use the fib above it, it's 68.90. So we're pretty much risking $1 there. That's too much for me. So we're going to come in here and find about the halfway point, which is here. We're going to change this to red to differentiate. So that's 68.34. We'll just call it 68.35. Nice round number. And then our risk to reward on this trade, if we look at the downside, draw this out for you. So our entry price would be below 67.90. Our final price target would be 65.42. And our stop loss would be 68.35. So 5.5. 5.5. 5.5 times your money. I mean, these levels are just getting crazy. So I would like to see this to the downside, but you never know what's going to happen. But it's always good to have a plan in place. Plan your trade. Trade your plan. I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, you can't force anything, especially with this choppiness. You have to set your levels. You have to set your alerts, and you have to let the trade come to you. So now we've created that alert. So now we have 2 alerts here. I've posted both of those alerts to the chat. And when we cross one of those levels, we are going to get an alert, and it's going to pop up, give us our price targets, give us our stop loss and our risk to reward ratio. And if we enter the position as the price targets go up further in price and we reach and achieve those price targets, if you have more than one contract, I recommend scaling out as we make it to each price target. Or you can YOLO your position and hold it all the way through, but I wouldn't recommend that. Take the profit when you have it. Be smart with it. So the next one I want to look at here is Coin. Old Coinbase likes to run with Bitcoin. So we'll look at Coin. We'll come over here to the daily. And we've also got another inside bar. So we're going to do the same thing we did on the other ones. We're going to plot the high. Then we're going to plot the low. Then we're going to draw our Fibonacci from the low to the high. Come back over here to our 5-minute. We're just keeping this strategy simple. Letting the chart and the Fibonacci tell us what our price targets and what our stop loss should be. So we're going to set up the alert. So we're looking above 206.79. So we'll just call it 206.80. So coin over 206.80. And if we come over here to the options, let me pull these up for you guys. 206.80. And if we look 1, 2, 3 up is 211.66. So we go from 210 to 215. So we'll go with the 210 calls. Expiration is April 1st. Price targets, we're just going to use our fib levels once again. So your first one would be 208.06. And that is at your 10% fib. Then our second one at the 27.2% is at 210.26. Your third one is at 211.66. Your fourth is at 213.16. And your home run price target is 214.66. Stop loss. We are not going to set the stop at the previous level. So we're going to come over here and find resistance, which this looks like a pretty good spot here. It's about halfway. That's about halfway there. So that's 205.20 on the head. So we're going to come back over here, set our stop loss at 205.20, and then we're going to calculate our risk to reward on this trade. We're going to pull up a long position. We're going to calculate an entry of 206.80. Our final home run price target would be 214.66, way up there. And then our stop loss would be 205.20. Oof, 4.91. You know, 5 times your money. These are just phenomenal trades, phenomenal setups. Let them come to you. Posted that in the chat for you guys, and then we're going to save that. And once again, once that price trigger is surpassed and the price breaks that level, we will get a nice pretty alert on the screen that tells us, you know, hey, this trigger happened, here's your price targets, here's the option contracts you need to get into, and here's your stop loss. Go ahead and roll with the trade. Keep your stop tight. As the price target increases, or as the price increases and goes through your price targets, I would recommend moving your stop loss up to the fib levels or the price targets that I have instructed you guys to. Now we're going to look at the downside of coin. So we're going to go to the daily again. Keep this process real simple. So we're going to draw the high and the low of the bar that's holding the inside bar captive. And then for the downside, we're going to draw it from the high to the low on our fib level. I'll come back to the 5-minute chart. Then we're going to set up our alert. So we're looking for a break below 194.05, so we'll just call it 194. So coin under 194, and if we go down 1, 2, 3, that's the 189 area. And we'll come in here and find our contracts closest to it. So we have 190 and 187.50. So the next level is 187.68. So I say we go with the 190s just to stay on the safe side. Expiration April 1st. Price targets, just going to use our fib levels. So first one 192.78. At the 10%, your second one is 190.58. Your third one is 189.18. Your fourth is 187.68. And your fifth, your big home run, if we can get there, 186.18. Stop loss. We're going to come in here and we're going to plot our stop loss in between the 0% and the 23.6. We're going to find a nice area of resistance at about the halfway point, which is resistance turn support or support turn resistance, however you want to look at it. That is at 195.79. So we will set our stop loss for 195.80, we'll call it. And our risk to reward. What you guys think this one's going to be? Anybody got a guess? So entry 194. Final home run price target would be 186.18. And the stop loss would be 195.80. 4.3. 4.3 times your money. So we're going to go ahead and save this, and then we're just going to wait for the trade to come to us tomorrow. It may not come tomorrow. It may not come the next day. We may build 4 or 5 more inside bars off of these levels, but normally the very next day after an inside bar, we see some type of breakout. So now we're going to look at the Mimi Lord, GameStop. We've also got an inside bar on it, and this one should be pretty interesting. So start with, we're going to plot our high and our low. Then we're going to draw our Fibonacci from the low to the high. Switch back to the 5-minute. So for an upside play, we're going to be looking for a break over 199.40. So we're just going to call it 199.50. So GME over 199.50. And if we go up 1, 2, 3, at our third level will be 213.34. That's kind of far away from 199.50. I don't think we're going to go that far out. So if we look at the GME options chain, we got 195, 200, 205, 210. So we will go with the 205 calls. Expiration April 1st. Price target, your first one at the 10% fib would be 203.05. Your second one would be 209.31. Look at that range. 213.32. Your fourth, 217.62. And your fifth would be 229.91. That is just, I mean, that's from 200 to 221, or 221.91. That's almost 22 bucks. So stop loss area, we come in here and set it about the halfway point for our stop loss, which is at 195.80. Now we are going to calculate our risk to reward. So entry price would be above 199.50, and if we hit our final price target of 221.91, and we have our stop loss set at 195.80, that is going to give us a risk to reward of 6.06, over 6 times your money. That's got to be one of the better ones. Post this to the chat. Now we're going to look at the downside here. We're going to come back over here to the daily again. I'm doing this over and over so you guys can get a better understanding of how I'm plotting these fibs and how I'm getting these levels. So we're going to plot the high of the inside bar's previous candle. And then we're going to plot the low. Then we're going to draw our fib for our bearish extension levels from the high to the low. And I'm going to switch back to the 5-minute to get a better view. So now we're going to set up our alert here. So 163 on the head. So below 163. So GME under 163. And if we go 1, 2, 3, that's 149.09. So we can look at the 150 puts. We got 150 and 155. Or excuse me, 150, 148. We'll go with the 150 puts. Don't want to go too far out. So now your price targets here, just use our fib levels, would be 159.36. Then 153.10. 149.09. 144.80. And the final price target would be 140.50. Nice psychological number there. So stop loss, we'll come in here to about the halfway point like we've been doing, which is in between our entry trigger, which is below 163, and the fib above it. So we don't want to risk that much. I mean, that's literally a lot of money, 163 to 171.59. So we'll use 166. I'm actually going to change this to 166 on the head, or excuse me, 167 on the head will be our stop loss. Now, risk to reward on this trade. We're going to come in here and draw our short position. Our entry is below 163. Our final home run price target is 140.50, almost $23 there. That'd be a hell of a move. And then stop loss of 167, 5.63, 5.6 times your money. I mean, come on. Who's ready to see some of these big moves? I know I am. Two more we're going to look at. Both inside bar setup as well. We have RIOT, which is also another one that runs with Bitcoin. So we'll come over here to the daily. See that we've got an inside bar, inverted hammer, so map the high and the low. Then we're going to draw our fib from the low to the high. We're going to come over here to our 5 minute and look at these levels. So alert. You see there's not a whole lot of movement here. We're going 23, 26, 23.50. We're moving about 25 cents every time. But with these smaller liquidity and smaller cap stocks, it doesn't require a huge movement. It's for the contracts to move. So a break above 23.11. So RIOT over 23.11. I'll look at the options chain. We'll pick the third one up, 1, 2, 3, 23.69. So we'll look at the 23.50 calls. Expiration April 1st. So price targets here, we'll keep it simple. 23.26 at the 10%. 23.52 at the 27.2. Then we got 23.69 at the 38.2. 23.87 at your 50% fib extension, and then at your 61.8 we're right over 24 at 24.05. Stop loss, we're going to come in here and we're going to find the middle in between our levels here, 22.93, so we can just call it 22.90, keep it psychological for our stop loss. Stop loss would be 22.90, and then our risk to reward on this for a long position. So we enter above 23.11. Our final price target is 24.05, and then our stop loss is 22.90. 4.5 times your money, 4.48. Let the trade come to you. Plan this stuff out. Don't force anything. Now we'll look at the downside. We're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to plot the low. Then we're going to plot the high, then we're going to plot the low. We're going to draw our fib from the high to the low to get our levels for the inside bar breakout. Make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So we're going to set up our alert. So we're going to look for a break below 21.58. So RIOT under 21.58. Then we're going to look down at our third price target. It would be 21 on the head. And we do have 21 puts. So $21 puts, expiration for 1/22. Price targets 21.43 at your 10%, at your 27.2 would be 21.16. Then we've got 21 on the head, 20.82 and 20.64. Stop loss zone. Come in here and we will pick a middle way through, which is 21.75. So we'll set that as our stop loss in between the 0% and the 23.6. So set our stop loss at 21.75. Then our risk to reward on this trade on going short, on going puts. So we would enter on a break below 21.58. My final price target using my fib levels would be 20.64. and then the stop loss would be 21.75. 5.53, 5.5 times your money. Set this trigger up. Once it crosses that level, it gives me an alert, and roll with it. Then we've got one more I want to look at, and then I'm going to call it a night, guys. Tesla. Tesla. So we'll come over here to the daily. We have an inside bar. Plot the high. Plot the low. Draw the fib from the low to the high in the upward direction. Switch to the 5-minute. So can't really see this. Give me a second to get this adjusted. So we're looking for Tesla above 1114.77. So we'll call it 1115 because Tesla has so much range. So Tesla over 1115. And if we go and we look at our third price target would be 1130. So we'll look at the 1130 calls, expiration April 1st. Price targets would be 1119. I'm just going to round with Tesla because, like I said, the range is so big. 1126. That the cents really don't matter on Tesla because it'll just blow right through it. 1131. 1136. And our fifth price target would be 1140. Stop loss. We're going to come in here and we're going to find about the halfway point, which would be right here. It would be 1109.91. So we'll just call it 1110 is our stop loss. Then our risk to reward. If we come in here and we factor in a long position. So we're looking above 1115. Final price target would be 1140. And our stop loss would be 1110. 5 times your money. And Tesla can do that. That's for sure. I love trading Tesla. There's so much range and the contracts move so fast. So now we're going to look at the downside. Switch to the daily chart. We're going to start out. We're going to plot our high and our low. And for the downside, we're going to draw the fib from the high to the low. Then we're going to switch back to the 5-minute. So now we're going to set up our alert. That's $1,073.11. So we'll just call it 1,073. So Tesla below 1,073. And if we look 1, 2, 3, 1,057. So we'll look at the 1,055 puts. Expiration April 1st. Your price targets. Your first one would be your 10% fib of 1,069. Just going to round here. Then we got 1,062. Your third price target would be 1,057. Your fourth would be 1,052, and your home run would be 1,047. Stop loss We are not going to use the fib all the way back. We are going to set it in the middle. 1178.40, we'll call it. 1178.40. And risk to reward on this trade, gonna be a big one. Under 1,073 is going to be our trigger. Our final price target would be 1,047, and our stop loss would be 1178.40. Excuse me, 1,078.40. I fat fingered that. Risk to reward of 4.81. Almost 5 times your money. All these trades have been above 3 or 4 on the risk to reward ratio sides. So hopefully some of you guys got some help from this video tonight on how to deal with inside bars and how I'm picking my watch list and some of these plays for tomorrow. It is very good just to go ahead and do research the night before and set up your triggers and get ready for the next day, and then let the trades come to you. Out of the 6 tickers that we went over, there should be a minimum of at least 1 or 2 that break out of these levels and have good returns on all of them. Hopefully we don't see another choppy day like we saw today, and we either have some up or down momentum. If you guys like my video, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, leave a comment. I would greatly appreciate it. Share my page with your friends. And that's all for tonight, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you. Good night.